President Trump attacked Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings on Saturday, saying that his district in the Baltimore area of Maryland is worse conditions, more dangerous than along the southern border. I want to put up the president's statements. His district is considered the worst in the USA. Cummings district is disgusting, rat and rodent infested mess. No human being would want to live there. In fact, median household income in Cummings district is in the upper half nationally, and Columbia, Maryland, which is part of Cummings district, has been called the safest city in America. So what is the president talking about?
And I think Maryland is, on a per capita basis or per household basis, the richest state in America. You still see pictures on the internet of complete poverty in Baltimore, Maryland. What this is about, though, is the president fighting back against what he saw as being illegitimate attacks about the border in the hearing this week. If you go online, you can see the questioning that Elijah Cummings did of Kevin McAleenan regarding the conditions at the border. Mr. Cummings saying that children were sleeping or sitting in their own feces. That's just that's not right. It's not accurate. Borne by the fact, by the way, that Mr. Cummings has not been to the border in recent memory, certainly not during this administration. And when the president hears lies like that, he is going to fight back. And that's what you saw in those tweets.
This goes back to what happened with the four members of the squad. Nobody objects to the president defending his border policies, but this seems, Mick, to be the worst kind of racial stereotype. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Racial stereotyping. Black congressman, majority black district. I mean, no human being would want to live there. Is he saying people that live in Baltimore are not human beings?
So, Chris, help me with this. When the president attacks AOC +3, when he attacks the squad last week, he gets accused of being a racist. When Nancy Pelosi does it a few days later, the left and many members of the media, not you in particular, I'd make that clear, come to Nancy's defense, how it couldn't possibly be racist, that she was simply attacking their ideas. The president is doing the same. The president is attacking Mr. Cummings for saying things that are not true about the border. I think it's right for the president to raise the issue of, look, I was in Congress for 6 years. If I had poverty in my district like they have in Baltimore, if I had crime in my district like they have in Chicago, if I had homelessness in my district like they have in San Francisco, and I spent all of my time in Washington, D.C. chasing down this Mueller investigation, this bizarre impeachment crusade, I'd get fired. And I think the president is right to raise that. It has absolutely zero to do with race.
You say it has zero to do with race. There is a clear pattern here, Mick. The fact is that before his inauguration, the president tweeted about John Lewis, a black congressman, that he should, and this is before his inauguration, he should spend time in his crime-infested district. Then, 2 weeks ago, he goes after these four members of the squad, all women of color, and says they should go back to the crime-infested countries from which they come. Then he talks about Elijah Cummings, and he says his district is rat and rodent infested. Infested. It sounds like vermin. It sounds subhuman. And these are all six members of Congress who are people of color.
I think you're spending way too much time reading between the lines.
I'm not reading between the lines. I'm reading the lines.
Does anyone watching this program dispute the fact that, or the possibility that if Adam Schiff had said the same thing about the border, that the president would be attacking Adam Schiff in the exact same way today? And
I don't think he'd be talking about his crime-infested, rodent-infested district.
He very well could. It has zero to do with the fact that Adam is Jewish, and everything to do with it. Adam would just be wrong if he were saying that. This is what the president does. He fights, and he's not wrong to do so.
And you're completely comfortable with him saying that this is a rodent-infested district and no human being would want to live there. You're comfortable with that personally?
Have you seen some of the pictures on the internet just this morning from the conditions in Baltimore, Maryland? Have you seen them?
You could do that in any inner city in America.
You absolutely could.
And you could argue, why doesn't the president do something to stop it?
The richest state in the nation, has abject poverty like that. A state, by the way, dominated for generations by Democrats. I think it's fair to have that conversation.
Okay.
This is Trump's acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, trying his absolute hardest to justify Trump's racist attack on yet another black congressman. And the official spin coming out of the White House now is that Trump's tweet invoking the word infested about the district with the 16th highest percentage of black residents in the nation was reasonable because there's poverty there. And yet, if this administration was truly concerned with poverty, if that was truly a basis for Trump's attacks, we'd hear the president lashing out against Kentucky's 5th district, where 29% of residents and 37% of children live below the poverty line. or Louisiana's 5th district, in which a quarter of the residents and 35% of children live below the poverty line. Of course, both of those are majority white, with Kentucky's 5th district's white population at 97%, and both of those districts are heavily Republican. That said, I'm sure you can find tweets attacking them somewhere, right? No? Weird. There's also the fact that Mulvaney decries the richest state in the nation having abject poverty, and yet Trump's signature legislative accomplishment is a tax cut for the rich. So for Trump administration officials to decry poverty when their agenda's sole beneficiaries are people making millions or billions of dollars a year is beyond disingenuous. Mulvaney even chastises Democrats for chasing down the Mueller investigation when there's poverty in their own district. But Democrats can walk and chew gum at the same time. Are Democrats not supposed to exercise oversight if there's an issue in his or her district? Any shortcoming in a state means that our representatives aren't allowed to hold this administration accountable for wrongdoing? Just because this White House got used to 2 years of lawlessness under a Republican majority doesn't mean that's how our government is supposed to work. Mulvaney goes on to mock the idea that when Trump attacks the squad, he's accused of being racist, but when Nancy Pelosi does it, it couldn't possibly be considered racist. But here's the thing. The attack on AOC by Pelosi, as Mulvaney calls it, was a disagreement over a border security bill, which the Democratic leadership supported, but the squad were the only ones to vote against, since it funded ICE. The squad spoke out against the bill, and Pelosi said, all these people have their public whatever and their Twitter world, but they didn't have any following. They're 4 people, and that's how many votes they got. And that's it. A disagreement between leadership and a few members of the caucus. So the reason that no one accused Pelosi of being racist is because she wasn't being racist, as opposed to Trump, who singled those women out and told them to go back to the countries that they came from, which, to be clear, if we're not playing make-believe, is a racist thing to say. Now, Mulvaney eventually admits that Trump's attack is in retribution for the oversight hearing in which Representative Cummings blasted Trump's acting Department of Homeland Security secretary over this administration's treatment of migrants at the border. The same migrants, mind you, who have been denied soap, toothpaste, showers, who have been locked in cages, who have been separated from their parents, and some of whom have lost their lives.
You feel like you're doing a great job, right? Is that what you're saying?
We're doing our level best in a very
What does that mean? What does that mean when a child is sitting in their own feces, can't take a shower? Come on, man. What's that about? None of us would have our children in that position. They are human beings.
That the administration thinks this is a good hill to die on, their treatment of migrants, which have been likened to concentration camps and are arguably the most glaring example of mass human rights abuses in this country in half a century, goes to show just how depraved their thinking has become. But with all of that said, Mulvaney was spot on about one thing at the border.
Mr. Cummings saying that children were sleeping or sitting in their own feces. That's not right.